What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Name Podcast. Today, we're going to get right into it. I've been lacking on uploading, multiple times a week. I feel like getting out 2 or 3 solid videos is better than rushing out some stuff. So, I kind of combined some topics and some stuff that I wanted to discuss. And so here we are, about to get through it. First things first, play of the week. I got the over 46 points for Philadelphia versus Dallas. So all you gambling degenerates, hop on this wave. I think it's going to be an absolute great value. I think it's going to be sweat-free green. So, if you want to make some cash, follow along. Dallas is second most points per game. Philadelphia is third with 28. They both have, Dallas is 28.1. Philadelphia is 28. So even if they just hit their averages, they're easily clearing that 46-point margin. And in 2022, week 6 with no Dak, they scored 43 points. So that Dallas offense with Cooper Rush, it's not as good as it is with Dak. We know that, right? And they're already 3 points off the over of points at 46. And then week 16 with no Jalen Hurts, they scored 74 points combined. Dallas scored 34 of their own. So obviously you see the how important Dak Prescott is to this offense and how much points he can provide. So and Dak Prescott coming off a hot week. Last week he threw for 4 touchdowns against the Rams, 300-something yards, and CeeDee Lamb finally got involved, 12 receptions, about 150 yards, and a touchdown. If they could keep this going, and it will definitely be a sweat-free cash. And Dak Prescott does play great ball against Philadelphia. In his career average versus Philadelphia, 250.6 yards per game, 1.7 touchdowns per game, with a 98.9 rating versus Philly. In total of his career, he has 19 touchdowns versus Philadelphia, and he is 8-3 versus Philadelphia in his career. So we do expect this offense to get going. Philadelphia's secondary is weak. They just gave up 31 points to the Washington Commanders for the second time this year, 31 and 34. Sam Howell threw for 400 yards twice, nearly 400 yards twice against these guys. So I really do expect Dak Prescott to get active. With their O-line, I think they should be able to hold up against the Philadelphia pass rush, and I think overall it's just be a shootout. I think these guys scoring 23 points apiece is going to be absolute sweat-free. And all you gambling degenerates, cash it now, or don't, but when it cashes this weekend, I don't want to hear I told you so, or I missed out, I should have listened. Just know it's coming. The green is coming, the money is coming. Let's make this money. The first topic of the day, are the Philadelphia Eagles the best team in the NFL? And I think, quite frankly, it is easy to say so. With a 6-1 record, they stand alone as the only one-loss team in the NFL. Jalen Hurts just continues to get better and eliminating these little mistakes that he's had and we've been critical of in the past. Jalen Hurts, 29 for 38, 319 yards and 4 touchdowns. Their run offense wasn't necessarily all there against the Commanders, but they kept time of possession. Jalen Hurts made the plays when they needed to be made. They were losing this game for a majority of this game, and then they came out and started scoring. A.J. Brown, 8 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's putting out a case that he can be a top 5 receiver. He has been absolutely dominating this year. And just the fact that Devontae Smith is still there, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift catching the ball out the backfield, you still cannot just double team him, because if you double team AJ Brown, there's going to be somebody else going to make you pay. Devontae Smith again had a great weekend. He's finally started getting some more targets after being a slow couple week stretch. But again, this offense is just so explosive. Like I said previously, the 3rd highest scoring offense in the league. Their run defense is elite. Their pass rush is elite. Their weakest issue, it does come to their secondary. Their secondary has, yet again, two straight appearances against their division. They've allowed Sam Howell to go for nearly 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, I believe, in the first meeting. So their secondary does have some weaknesses. They have been known to get gashed in the secondary and give these big plays. Miami didn't take advantage of it 2 weeks ago with certain penalties and drop passes that they could have had, which would have made the game a lot more close and a lot more competitive and a lot more of a shootout and a high-scoring game. But, again, once this Philadelphia Eagles team gets a lead, they just run the ball and play Philadelphia football. They run the ball, do the tush push, use Jalen Hurts' ability as a dual threat QB, and then it just sets everything else up. And then you have A.J. Brown making these outstanding catches. If you didn't watch the game this weekend, A.J. Brown had a one-handed snag over 2 people. It was just insane. He's playing absolutely lights out and is just dominating in the best way possible. But this Philadelphia secondary, again, allowing 247.5 pass yards per game, is 25th in the NFL. It is a issue and something that this Dallas team coming up can take advantage of. I mean, again, like I said about the play of the day, Dallas does have the second highest scoring offense. And again, they're coming off a hot week. Mike McCarthy finally got things going on against a scrappy Rams team who's not great, but they do compete. They are they have a solid team. They lost a couple pieces. Obviously, we know this. This is supposed to be their down year, their fall off year, but it's still a solid, well coached up team. Philadelphia is a 3-point favorite, even 3-point favorite, playing in Philadelphia. I mean, Dallas does have a top 3 or 4 defense, but again, they have been exposed in the past to certain teams, specifically the Niners, the 49ers, with their ability to run the ball and then the play action setting up everything. So I think it's going to be one of those type of games. But I mean, I think the biggest part, if you're looking as a Dallas Cowboys going into this next week matchup, I mean, again, Dak got hot, CD got hot. Dak started making these good throws, using his feet. They ran the ball solid this past week. I mean, but my most impressive thing is you finally started Dak getting these other guys involved, which helped open up the stuff for CD. I mean, you started seeing him hit Ferguson, Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks. They both started getting involved, both started getting some touches and the ball in their hands. And I think to beat this Philadelphia team and to go into Philly, you have to do that. It can't just be CD Lamb being your the only person who would throw the ball to. You have to see somebody else step up, and I think Jake Ferguson and Brandon Cooks are more than capable of that. Dak should have a heavy workload throwing the ball this weekend because this Philadelphia rush defense is elite. So, again, if Dak takes care of the ball and Mike McCarthy can call up some great plays, I think this can be a very interesting game. If I had to lean to one team, I would have to still stay with Philadelphia because, again, they are the top team in the NFL right now. I don't know if I would take them at 3 because, to me, this can easily be a 2-point game in situations like that. You know what I'm saying? A missed extra point or something in that nature, which kind of eventually takes away the spread. But again, it is going to be a very fun Sunday. They're playing at 1:25 my time, 4:30 Eastern. So this will be a very good game. And overall, I mean, Philadelphia has been playing outstanding football. So without a doubt, these guys are the best team in the NFL so far through week 8. Is Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals back? And I've been saying this, and I've been a big advocate of saying that Joe Burrow is a top 3 quarterback, is a top 2 quarterback. And I've consistently said that Joe Burrow, if I trusted anybody to go through this rough stretch of games and to make it out alive and give his team a chance to go win, it was going to be Joe Burrow. The first week of Joe Burrow, you finally see he's not an injury report, and he goes out there and looks like the top 2 Joe Burrow, who's worth all that money and who's worth being the second to first highest paid QB in the league. He went out here and absolutely dieted up this San Francisco 49ers secondary, and this whole Cincinnati team played their best game of football all year. I mean, Joe Burrow, 28 for 32, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 43 rushing yards. He was using his feet, all right? I mean, listen, the first drive of the game, he goes out there and avoids 4 different sacks, throws on the run, boom. You know what I'm saying? It's an absolute dot to Jamar Chase, to his tight end. And it's just one of those things that you just love to see. You finally see Joe Burrow looking like his old self. I mean, you finally see Joe Mixon and this run game come together at the right time, right? You haven't seen many teams run the ball against San Francisco like you just seen Cincinnati do, okay? And then you also get Jamar Chase and T. Higgins finally showed up. He finally started getting involved. Jamar Chase, 10 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, this team finally came together at the right time, and now Joe Burrow is playing like Joe Burrow, and he has just made amazing throw after amazing play. And if I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, if I'm a Joe Burrow, I got him on my fantasy team, if I'm a believer of the Cincinnati Bengals, I would not feel any better at the current 4-3 record that you have right now going forward. I mean, this has just been outstanding. I mean, you finally seen Joe Burrow what looks to be zero pain, zero being bothered by his calf, all right, which a lot of people thought he should sit out and save himself, and he said no, I'm gonna play through. And now we finally see everything clicking, and we see the Cincinnati Bengals for what it really is. With Joe Burrow at the helm, you see him as a top 3 offense, top 5 offense in football. You see him as a top 2 quarterback, a man who can just make play after play, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, this San Francisco 49ers secondary, yes, has been a weak part of their defense and of their team in the past, but Joe Burrow did Joe Burrow-like things, and a lot of the plays he made with his feet to avoid getting sacked and just, making something out of nothing is the things that Cincinnati Bengals fans are finally excited to see going forward. I mean, you've seen a little bit here and there these last couple weeks on this win streak that Cincinnati is currently on, but you haven't seen it completely for one whole game. I mean, against Seattle, you didn't really see nothing crazy. It was that defense that really stepped up for you and didn't allow Seattle to score in the red zone. But now you finally got all the pieces coming together at the right time. And if I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, I couldn't be happier going forward. I mean, you absolutely demolished what we all assumed and expected was a top 3, a top 2 defensive unit in football. I mean, this pass rush, which has been very, very quiet the entire year. I mean, Nick Bosa finally got paid. He was holding out. He wanted all this money. He wanted generational type money, and he finally got paid, and he just has not been producing enough. And then you see with the trade deadline, which is something we'll get into later, they bring in Trace Young. So now they got another pass rusher on that team who is on an expiring contract. But, I mean, you just have so much. You have Randy McGregory, him, Hargrave. I mean, this D-line is just so stacked. They got so many weapons. Eric Armstead, that for them to get gashed like this, and it's just not something you want to see. I mean, there is definitely something to worry about as a 49er fan going forward. I mean, again, Brock Purdy played a solid game of football if you take away the 3 bad plays that he had during this game. All 3 of these bad plays led into turnovers. I mean, he was using his feet, making plays with his feet, getting out the pocket, extending plays, throwing on the run, getting first downs, using his feet, making good throws, beautiful throws, and then just 3 bad plays that overall just changed the trajectory of this game to where Cincinnati was playing ahead, and then scoring that touchdown late just really put the dagger in the coffin, But I mean, listen, Brock Purdy, 2 INTs, 1 fumble, 22 for 31, 365. It's not something you want to see as a San Francisco 49er fan. Obviously, a lot of people have been hating on Brock Purdy going forward. They say he is most definitely the weakest link on this team, which I think we can all agree with. But, I mean, listen, at the same time, at the end of the day, as rough of a stretch he's going on, he is still barely getting to about 16, 15 games in his career. Excuse me, I think he's gone over that mark already, but you know what I'm saying. He's barely got 1 year of games of experience under his belt, and he's put in a very difficult spot. I know definitely there was a lot of stuff going on to his head. His confidence is not very high right now, which, I mean, it shouldn't have been. This San Francisco team is on a 3-game losing streak, which nobody expected. I sure as didn't, but, there's nothing better than watching the San Francisco 49ers lose every Sunday. So 3 weeks going forward, I couldn't be happier as a Raider fan, watching these guys lose like this. But at the end of the day, I mean, what is wrong with Brock Purdy going forward? Are you a believer? Are you not? I mean, listen, the numbers, if you look at his numbers from this past Sunday, he played a solid game. Like I said, 3 plays really just tore this game and didn't put them in a position to win and made his stats look terrible. I mean, 1 late sack. He had 2 INTs, which is, unfortunate errors. I mean, unfortunate timely errors that Cincinnati just came up with. But I mean, CMC, 2 touchdowns, 118 total yards. Kittle, 149 receiving yards. Ayuk, 109 yards on his own. I mean, they were 2 and 4 in the red zone. But, I mean, this San Francisco team has just not looked good these last 3 weeks. And that's overall as a unit. It's not just solely on Brock Purdy. Yes, Purdy gets the blame for the interceptions and all these little things. But, I mean, when was the last time you seen a San Francisco quarterback throw for 365 yards? It's been ages. Maybe the Alex Smith era. Maybe, it's been forever. They've been so dominant running the ball these past 3 to 4 years, 5 years, that it's just not something you're accustomed to. And when Christian McCaffrey's running for 50-something yards a game, and he was at that MVP level hype, it's not something you want to see. You definitely need to see the 49ers get back to this dominant run game that they've lived off the last 3 to 4 years. Because I think putting Brock Purdy in a situation where he has to throw for 365 yards a game is not something nobody wants to see. You don't want to put your quarterback position where you have to do something like this. I mean, that's just the Sam Howell's point. Sam Howell's throwing for 400 yards against the Philadelphia twice, but they've still lost in both of those games. And throwing the ball 52 times a game as a first-year starter is not something you want to do, because that leads to more mistakes. I mean, these guys are still young. They still don't have many games under their belt. They still got a lot to learn and a lot of ways to develop and get better. But I mean, yes, 100,000%, Brock Purdy is the sole situation for this team. I mean, he plays a big part in how this team's going to go, and their expectations and their floor and their ceiling. I mean, we know the expectations, which is Super Bowl, and it's very difficult for a first-year guy, and then, not only a first-year guy, but Mr. Irrelevant, get this type of pressure and hold them to these type of standards. I mean, the team is a Super Bowl or bust aspect. I mean, it's not anything else. This is a Super Bowl window. You got all these guys. You just added Shiestyyyy to even make your defensive line even more elite. All right, so now you have all these pieces. You got 7 to 8 rotational pieces, just like Philadelphia, and now the expectation is to win. And I say a first-year guy because he had just recently hit, I think, about 17 starts in the NFL, which is a season's worth of games. And so it just has to go with that. Not a lot of quarterbacks come into the league and just dominate right away. They struggle. They go through cold slumps. They go through time periods where they don't look good. They can't get stuff going. The run game's not there for them, so they have to try to do more, and then more leads to interceptions. At the end of the day, this guy is still young. He's still got a lot of work to do. All right, but nobody came into the NFL. Don't remember the last time I've seen a rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback, come into the NFL and his expectation is a Super Bowl. I don't remember the last time. Bryce Young, first overall pick. He's supposed to be the next guy. He's 1-6. All right, we never held him to the expectation to make a Super Bowl. He doesn't have to worry about that. That's not something he has to worry about. CJ Stroud, and he's balling right now. But again, he didn't have the pressure of being a Super Bowl or bust team. It's a big task to put on somebody's plate. And I mean, listen, we don't get mad at Dak Prescott for never getting to the plate. We don't get mad at, we make fun of Dak Prescott, but we don't hate on Dak Prescott for underperforming and being the reason his team's not making it any further than what it is. We've seen Dak Prescott in the playoffs. He's not been a guy to come through against the San Francisco 49ers the last 3 years. All right, we've seen it. We know it. All right, he's had opportunities to help push his team forward, and he just has not come through. And so that's a 8-year vet compared to a second year, technically 17 games started QB. So I think there is definitely a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy alone. But I mean, it is a difficult situation just because of the fact that this San Francisco 49ers team is held to such a high standard. Their expectations are through the roof. They are Super Bowl or bust at the end of the day. So, it's a tough situation. You have to hold Brock Purdy to a higher standard than others. And for the most part of the season, for the first 5 weeks, he stepped up to the plate. He was making plays and everything was all right. But it also had a lot to do with the run game being so explosive and dominant. All right. And we haven't seen that the last 3 weeks. And then defensively, these guys have just not shown up. They have not played elite like we've expected from them. I mean, they let Kirk Cousins have himself a field day. One of the last topics we're going to be going over today has got to be the NFL trade deadline. Obviously, just expired yesterday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Was constantly on my phone checking Twitter, Fox Sports, all that stuff, trying to get into the info, see what was going on. There was a lot of talk going on. Jalen Johnson requested a trade. Nothing went through. You've seen a couple other little trades here, but I'm going to go over what I think is the most important trades. Obviously, as a Raider fan, Devontae Adams did not request a trade. He did not go out there. He did not go out. The Raiders situation we'll discuss briefly at the very end of this episode. All right. But I mean, listen, Shiestyyyy, I've talked about it before, was just traded to the San Francisco 49ers yesterday for a third-round pick, which is an absolute steal. I mean, Shiestyyyy has just not been a standout and not been as good as he was supposed to be coming out of Ohio State, going to Washington, drafted first overall pick. I mean, so getting it for a third pick value is, great to see. Teaming up with Nick Bosa once again, I think that's going to be great combination. I think Chase Young should get a lot of one-on-one opportunities and, a lot of attention to other players on that pass rush that he could maybe make some noise, maybe make some plays. He is on an expiring contract, I do believe. So him as a pending free agent, we will see how that goes going forward. Montez Sweat, traded to the Bears for a second-round pick. I mean, again, another guy who's going to be an expiring free agent. His contract's going to be up after this year. Not too sure on what the Bears are thinking in sense of them not being very competitive right now, and Montez Sweat being a big guy on wanting to win and wanting to compete. So we will see how that goes at the end of this season and towards offseason free agency. That'll be definitely a good, interesting situation to pay attention to. But, I mean, one of the most important trades I've got to speak about, Leonard Williams, USC alum, #fight on, but gets traded to Seattle for a second and a fifth-round pick. I mean, Leonard Williams has been a dominant D-tackle in this league for the last couple years. He's been a very solid piece up in New York. He's just played phenomenal football. I mean, but it was the right time for them to move off with the Giants in the situation that they are now, not winning many games at this point, trying to get as much draft capital as possible to rebuild this team for next year. But again, I think this adds to a very weak Seattle defense, who has not been very impressive this year. I mean, their DBs are elite, but they have struggled with their front four and their linebacking core. So adding Leonard Williams into this piece will definitely help with the run game, maybe with the pass rush. But obviously, he is known for his run defense and plugging up holes and just being a run stopper. So this is a great piece to a Seattle team that can really use it to help around Tariq Woolen and Witherspoon. So I mean, again, just a great addition at the deadline, and I think for a very reasonable cost. 2 picks, one day 2 pick there, and then 1 day 3 pick. So it is what it is. Hopefully this helps this Seattle defense improve. And then Kevin Byard, getting traded to Philadelphia for a 5th and a 6th round pick, and Terrell Edmonds, but he was not a big piece to be discussed. But obviously Kevin Byard adds to the secondary, who does need some help. He has been a great player in Tennessee, and obviously with Tennessee's situation going on, they decided to move a piece. He is going to be an expiring free agent again, so this could be a 1-season rental just to help with the secondary. Obviously they just paid James Bradbury, Darius Slay. They just paid Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown was paid last year. So this is going to be interesting going forward. Again, I do think this will be more of a Sauce Gardner type rental. Just bring him in, help play defense, help improve this defense, be a leader, and then just see what goes from there. Because obviously they can't be signing everybody back this upcoming year, but it definitely looks like they are trying to add to their win now Super Bowl team and Super Bowl culture. So overall, I do think this is going to be a great addition for Philadelphia, even if it is just for a 1-year rental, because at the end of the day, they only gave up 2 day 3 picks. Las Vegas Raiders finally did it. We finally got rid of Josh McDaniels, all right, including GM David Ziegler. I don't even know if I pronounced it right, and I don't give a damn. All right, listen, he has been absolutely terrible since he's got here. All right, we've seen his tenure with the Broncos was terrible. All right, as soon as they got rid of him, they brought in Peyton Manning and finally became a winning team. This team has been terrible. He's made terrible decisions. There's a lot of questionable decisions he made, a lot of questionable plays he's made. Jimmy G has been absolutely terrible as well. And finally, the first thing, new interim head coach Antonio Pierce, who did have some time in Arizona State with Herm Edwards, so I think that's a great person to be around, a great college mind, a great mind of the game. First thing he does is talks about our quarterback play and makes Aiden O'Connell our starter for the rest of the season, which I absolutely love. And people want to say Aiden O'Connell played bad against the Los Angeles Chargers, and I don't think he did. Yes, Khalil Mack had a historic day. That has more to do with the fact that we weren't blocking for him and that he was just holding on to the ball. But if you watch that second half of the game, and as the game went on, the ball came out quicker. He was becoming better, more confident, poised, ball making throw after throw after throw. And then he sets us up for this game-winning drive, game-tying drive to put us into OT. And what does Josh McDaniels do? He runs a rollout little 3-route concept, flood concept to the boundary, excuse me. All right, and we end up throwing a pick, but he puts a rookie QB in a tough situation. All right, he makes him out there and makes him go make a play, and him and his receiver Jacoby Myers are just not in the same play. All right, when any other sane coach would have ran the ball right there at least twice to Josh Jacobs. We were 1 yard out. All right, we could have easily gave the ball to Jacobs, and then if not that, third choice quarterback sneak. All right, listen. He has been absolutely terrible, and I do think us as Raider fans were finally happy. I mean, I got home from In-N-Out yesterday, and then boom, the first thing I get at 11 p.m., boom, Josh McDaniels is fired. Our GM is fired, and I absolutely love it. I mean, there's definitely a couple players that we did draft who have been great, so I will give David Ziegler some credit on that, but there's also been some players that we've missed on just because we didn't want to draft the right people. All right, so again, going forward with our interim head coach, the first thing he talked about was our offense and how Aiden O'Connell was going to give us the best chance to win, and I 100% agree with it. This guy needs run. He needs to get right, and if we lose with Aiden O'Connell, so be it. We'll deal with it in the offseason, but I'd much rather get someone who we are not sure of how good he can be, and we've seen one game sample, all right, and then they want to put in Brian Hoyer, all right, because his familiarity with the system, but no, screw that, all right. Aiden O'Connell finally gets his shot. He's going to be playing some good teams. The Giants this upcoming week, and then going forward, he will play some tougher teams. We'll have to run through Miami, and then obviously get back to the division. Go through. We'll see the Chargers. We'll see the Chiefs. We'll see the Steelers. Excuse me, not the Steelers, the Broncos. All right. So it'll be interesting to see how this team can play out. And again, in that one game, Devontae Adams had a great game. Jacoby Myers had himself a great game. Hunter Renfrow finally started getting more involved last week, and so maybe we start to see him get more included in the offense. Michael Mayer started getting some touches, and Austin Hooper started making some plays. So I am excited for this team going forward. Again, he's going to be a rookie quarterback, getting his second start against a wounded, not very good Giants team. So I am very excited. I am very hopeful Aiden O'Connell can make some plays and give us something to look forward to next year. Maybe a possible franchise QB. Who knows? But first things first, what we had to do, got rid of our head coach, got rid of how he is, got rid of Josh McDaniels, and we are hitting the reset button, all right? And all I got to say is let's go, Aiden O'Connell, Raider Nation. Let's go. Let's get it. You know, we about to make some noise. No, I'm just getting a little ahead of myself. But listen, I just want to see great things from Aiden O'Connell going forward to make this team happier, to make Devontae Adams more happier, and then push some positive energy going forward, all right? So let's get this. Let's be great. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed. I appreciate for all those who listen, like, subscribe, comment, and just support my stuff on TikTok, Instagram, wherever you follow me, wherever you show support. I appreciate y'all. I really do from the bottom of my heart. With that being said, see ya.